All right, this is 12.6. We are working on inverse variation. So let's have a small review. When we look at direct variation, remember the equation is y equals kx. As one quantity increases, so does the other. An example of this would be like the price of something. You should write these notes. Versus the profit. As the price increases, does your profit increase? Yes. How does it look in a graph? It's going right through the origin, and it's a linear equation. Okay? It must go through the origin for it to be proportional, for it to be a direct variation equation. Just a different name for the same thing that you've been learning for a couple years now. An inverse variation equation, on the other hand, looks like this. It's where you're dividing a constant by your x. In this situation, as one quantity increases, the other is decreasing. Both quantities are going in opposite directions. Okay, if x is an example of this would be like when x is the price and y is the sales. So as the price goes up, I sell less, right? And this is how your graph is going to look. Oops. So take a minute, finish writing the notes, and pause the recording and then come. Okay, so now let's begin. I want you to name for me whether it's a direct variation, inverse variation, or neither. So Logan, number 1.
It is direct.
That is correct. It is direct. Y equals kx, so it is direct. Number 2, Carmela. Now remember, don't make your judgment till you get y alone. It's an inverse because we divide by x. We get y equals 7 over x, and that would make it an inverse variation. Number 3, Malcolm. Get the y alone. What do I do with the neither? We subtract 3. We subtract 3, whoops, and we divide by subtract 3. Negative y equals x minus 3, divide by negative 1. And we get y equals negative x plus 3. So it's neither. Good. Okay, next one. Number 4, Cubby.
Inverse variation.
Because all it's really saying is y equals 10 over x. Next one, LaCour.
It is neither.
Neither. Potato. And number 6, let's go Hike. Direct. Multiply both sides by x, and we end up with y equals 3x. So everybody understands what the equations look like, right? All right, so how am I going to see it? Here's one way you can see it. Y varies inversely with x. When it says inversely, we set it up y equals k over x. Then I substitute in 4 equals k over 12. Now what do? Oscar?
Now we multiply both sides by 12.
And we get k equals 48. Next one. Savannah.
15.
Oh, wait. You guys do this one. Go. Pause the recording. What am I writing for the equation? Let's go with Spencer. Y equals k over x. Then we substitute. K over 3. What do I do next? Multiplying both 3 on both sides, and we have k equals 45. Now what would the equation look like if y is varying inversely with x? y in terms of x. What? It's like you're writing it like your y equals mx plus b. Same way we write that. What? Does it equal 45x? Hold on. Spencer, is this an inverse variation? It is not. So how do I write it? You told me what the equation was. Over x. Are you guys clear on that? Okay. And remember, the graph kind of looks like this. Starts high and goes low.
It still has the y intercept, right?
You mean x-axis?
The y-axis. It still goes to the y-axis, right?
It gets closer and closer. It never really quite touches, I believe.
So it never touches the y-axis?
Yeah.
The x-axis.
All right, so we did these. Let's do both. Well, no, it wouldn't touch the y-axis. Okay. No, yeah. Okay, let's look at a word problem. The number of hours it takes to paint a house varies inversely with the number of painters used. So what does it say? Hours varies inversely with painters. What's the depender? What depends on the other? Yeah, so hours is like my y. Let's say hours, we'll call it h. And that's kind of like my y, because it's the depender. And what else do I have? P is like paint for painters. Or we could use T for time, either one. And that would be like my X. And so what would it be? Now, I ask you, the more painters I have, the more time it takes? No, I'm asking. The more painters I have, does it make me have more time? The more pointers I have, what happens? Less time it takes. So it's a direct variation equation. Inverse variation, sorry. So what would that look like? That will look like K over P. Okay? Now, if it takes 10 hours, what do I substitute in? K equals is over 6. Now what do I do? Multiply both sides by 6. K is equal to 60. And then I get H equals 60 over P. Now it says, how long, once I find the constant of proportionality, how long would it take 8 painters? So hours equals 60 divided by 8. Hours would be 8 goes 6, 7 hours. It's 56, and what do I have a remainder of? Right, 4 over 8, which would be 0.5 hours. Yes, I understand. No, I don't. It's pretty easy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of a little bit of a repeat from first semester. Can I move on?
Yes.
Okay, why don't you guys try the next one? Try and figure out what the depender is. And it gives you a hint. Pause the recording. Okay, the width of a rectangle with a fixed area varies inversely as its length. If the length is 15 when the width is 6, find the width when the length is 10. Okay, so we are doing, let's call, I think we're going to be doing this. Width varies inversely. I would say,
How would you determine what's x
I would do it based on the language. I would do it based on the language. Width varies inversely. W equals K over L, right? W stands for width. And I'm placing that. I think it doesn't matter, kind of like pinky to,
Okay, so if you do L equals K over W, would you wrong?
yeah. But I usually go in order that they write it. Okay, stop talking. So what am I substituting in the first time? When the length is, if the length is 15, when the width is 6, okay, so we have to multiply both sides by 15, and we end up with K equals, what is that? 30, carry the 3, it's 90. Now what do? W equals 90 over L, and so I'm substituting in W equals 90 over 10, and we get the W, the width is 9. And it would be 9 units. Okay, questions? Good. Yes.
So I'm just like thinking, like, if it doesn't really matter here what goes first, like L or W, then in a problem where you could
Let's try something else. Let's go. L equals K over W, multiply by W, multiply by W. I'm still getting, it still ends up equaling the same thing for the K.
So then the problem where you could determine why it was depender is, would it also not matter in that situation?
Well, you want to keep your depender as a depender. Okay, questions? Okay, stop talking. Okay, so number one, is this an inverse variation? Does this vary inversely? Weekly pay for a fixed salary. Now, this is not an hourly salary. A fixed salary is like let's say I make $100,000 a year. My weekly pay. Is it going to change every week? No. It would be my pay varies inversely to W, so it would kind of be like this. If my 100,000, let's just say 100,000 is equal to K over the number of weeks is 52. So if I divide weeks into, multiply 52,000, I'm trying to explain this. Yes.
But like, would the weekly pay not go down? It's a fixed salary. So then
The salary is 100,000 for the year.
okay.
I don't get that per week, right?
But it wouldn't go down. So how could it be inverse?
The salary will go down weekly. If I have 52 weeks and I have to divide that 100,000 by 52, I'm trying to explain. When your fixed salary and the weeks worked. So if I work 10 weeks, you get paid per week.
Yeah, but the weekly pay doesn't change. It's the same. So what's
The monthly, no, the salary, the yearly pay doesn't change.
Okay. So
100,000.
What's going up? The week's work goes up. So.
Because the more weeks, yes, the more weeks go.
I think what this is actually showing is the pay for the week times the weeks.
Yeah.
Is
Right.
Equal to K.
Yeah.
So the P is how much you get paid per week, and the week is how many weeks you work.
Right. So
what you're doing is you're multiplying the pay per week times the weeks to get how much you're paid.
so
Which is K.
no, I think it's the more weeks you work, the less money you're going to get each week.
As a fixed salary.
Because it's a fixed salary.
Okay.
So I'm getting 100,000 for the year.
No matter-
Now, if I work 1 week, I've got to do all the work in either 1 week or 52 weeks.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. If I'm getting paid weekly, I've signed for 100,000.
have to.
I do the job, if I do it in a week or 52 weeks, they're going to pay me. So if it's 52 weeks, they're taking that 100,000 and dividing it into 52. So the more weeks I have, the less I'm getting every week. Does that make sense? Yes.
So pay is how much is your fixed salary?
Yes, because in
Yeah,
1
okay.
week
Yes.
you make all the 100,000, but in
So-
2 weeks you're gonna make 50,000 each week.
Right,
So
right,
pay
right,
is
right.
your fixed
Is your fixed salary.
How many weeks?
Okay. The time it takes to drive to work and the speed of the car. Time. So if I'm going fast, does it take more or less time?
Less time.
Less. Time goes down the faster I go. So is this an inverse variation equation? Yep. So time varies, time and speed, and remember my k in this case would be my distance. Okay? The area of the square and its sides. No, area equals side squared, that's not gonna vary inversely. The number of hours needed to do a job and the number of people working.
It's inverse.
It's inverse.
The more people you have, the less.
Right, exactly. So we're doing hours to people, right? Same way. You have to be able to write that. Know where the H and where the P goes. Because you're right. If you switch it to pay, people varies inversely to hours. It doesn't make sense. The more hours you have, the less people, it's not going to make sense. It has to be the other way. So you can't inter switch. That's 12.6. Okay?